Good afternoon, this is Tim from Garden Hands. We've been busy working on a hay feeder for Lindsay, so it's done. Not all of it has videos, but we're going to go through what we think are the important parts of it today. So, we got the rafters on. We put some ties on here and some screws in kitty corner in the nail in there too. And right now we're putting on these nailers, or the purlins, I guess you'd call them, or that's what we call them. The purlins are just 2x4s laying flat. This is built more than it needs to be. So I'm putting a pole barn spike in each of these, 2 in some of them, every other one sort of. And I think I'm going to put a diagonal brace on this somewhere just to stiffen it up a little bit. And then we're going to throw the steel up on top, and we should be pretty close to done. We got to build our skirt around the side of it yet, but we're going to go up and nail some more of these up and get those on. You need that anyway, right? There. Actually, I got 2 things done just now. We got those purlins nailed on and I didn't fall off the roof. Win-win. Well, the roof is going easy. It's everything you can lift and climb to. It's not too bad. So we'll get that done, and then perimeter, where that just a 2x10, I think it is, that we have that goes around the outside, right on top of the floor, that kind of contains the hay a little bit. And then this front one, I guess I'm going to call it the front one, will tip down to make it a little easier to get the bale in there, or bales, whatever you're going to put in here. And I have one more rafter support I'm going to put on this side of the poles here, just for fun, I guess. And then, like I said, our diagonal braces to stiffen it up a little bit. This is going to fit in a fence line, so there'll be a fence that comes up to it in the center of it, on both ends of it. So it'll be able to feed a horse or 2 on this side and a horse or 2 on that side. They don't play together, so you have to keep them apart. These rails are probably too high, and they just have a couple of screws that are inside of them, so we can move them down, but we wanted to make them high enough so they wouldn't rub their necks on it, I guess or their mane. So we got them high enough that they can't step in here and walk through this into the next pasture where the other horse is. That's their main reason for these. So we'll eventually adjust these down. So it's 9 feet long overall, and I think it was just over 60 inches, 62 inches inside. And the round bales that she feeds are 4-foot round bales, so that gives plenty of room inside. And its height, when this is tipped down, one's supposed to do that. So this tips down, and this pipe comes out by just removing a pin on each end of it. And there's a pin on the other end, and this pipe can slide out. So our height inside, or our maximum height that you can use from the floor up to the ceiling is 6'8". So the round bales are 4 feet wide and 6 feet tall. And usually after they've been sitting for a little while, a month or 2 or 3, they squat a little bit, so their height will go down a little. So you've got a 6-foot round bale, and you've got 8 inches extra room on top, which isn't a lot. But next year when she gets her round bales, she's going to probably ask them to make them 5 feet in diameter or 5 feet tall. That's the round part, will be 5 feet tall. Then they'll go in here real easy, and you won't have to worry about them. So that's our height, and the width doesn't matter, but yet it will fit a 8-foot long it will fit an 8-foot long big square bale you could put in here also, and that's why we went with 8 feet, or it's 9 feet, but 8 feet long if you got some of those from a different neighbor, or if he has a different baler or whatever. So it'll fit a variety of bales. All the material in the bottom was treated. The top rafter part was not treated. I figured we were okay on that. And the tin is just some used tin that we got off from the door when we changed that out on our shop door. It's good. It's got a couple of rust spots underneath, but for this application will be fine. On the hinged, this little door here, it'll make it easier to load so that you don't worry about hitting this board and breaking it if you're coming in with a bale and it's slippery out or it's snowy or icy. This can be hinged down, and she can load that as long as the bale gets back past the edge of the post here to where this folds up to. You can load that bale, and then it's out of the way when you're loading and back up again, and then it's keeps a little bit of the hay in there so they can't just drag it right out. I think she's going to put a hay net over this eventually, or maybe right away. And at that point, we'll probably take some eye hooks that are a lag screw on the end, so we can screw those maybe right into the side of this board. So when that's tipped up, there'll be a hook here, or a fair amount, how many, 6? 6 or 8, whatever it's going to take, along the edge of this board and maybe on each of the other ones, and she'll be able to pull that hay net down and hook it over that, or run a rope through the hooks or whatever it's going to take to do that. All we have on here is just a bolt, piece of ready rod that I slid through, and I put a bigger washer on the inside of that, and then a nut that I welded a piece of rod to so that she can tighten it up that way. And I don't think the horses will mess with that. This will end up hanging down, so the weight of it will keep it from moving. And up on here, you saw the pins. Lindsay and I discussed that. I don't know if the horses are going to want to try and pull those out, but we've thought of something. Obviously, I can't even put it in, so we thought of just a 2x4 with a slot in it, and this has to slide up in that slot to get out, and that'll keep the horses from getting it out. So we'll probably do that on each of those, and then these can come out. Other than that, it's pretty simple, as you can see on the rest or the other first video. On the other side of it, we're thinking there's a hay feeder called a haysaver, and there's gates. They're kind of a gate, but it's got vertical bars in it that are the width of the horse's muzzle. Is that right? Beak? The horse's beak. That's what it is. They're the width of the horse so they can get back to about their eyes, maybe their ears, kind of, so they don't want them to get their whole head through, I don't believe, but maybe they can. I'm not a horse person. So it's got these vertical bars that are probably 8 to 10 inches wide, and that gate is not held against anything on top. So as they eat the hay, the gate can fall into the bale. So it limits the hay a little bit. It doesn't slow them up a lot, but it slows them up a little bit, and it would be another barrier for them so they can't get through there. So we'll probably build that out of this material. It's just used galvanized pipe that we have on the farm. And it'll probably be, we want to see what the horses do when they're in here. So we want to see how high we need to build that. So we'll build those panels probably this tall, and they'll sit on the floor, and we'll maybe have a retainer in here that holds each end. And then as the horse eats, it'll just fall down, and we can eventually have a chain or a cable that went from the top rafter to that, so it would only go so far. But we'll have to experiment with that. We'll show you what that is. That'll be 1.1 version, I guess. Other than that, tomorrow morning we're going to take it over and get it set up, so we'll video that while we're doing that portion of it. We have to dig some snow out, I'm sure, and she'll be able to feed horses a round bale. So that'll be the first one she's done. I'm pretty sure when it's colder next week and she's sitting in her office doing the work, she can look out on the herd and see them eating, and she won't have to be carrying hay bales out. So. Over at Lindsay's shed right now, where she stores the hay, and the tractor's here, and we've brought the feeder over on a wagon that we have. So we're going to go out and move some snow around because there's snow all over. The gates don't want to open until we move some snow, and get a spot that's ready for this, and then put the pallet forks on the loader and move the feeder down here with the pallet forks. If it's too heavy for that, we're going to go over to the neighbors and get a set of bale spears, and we'll put a bale on the back on the 3-point, and then we'll have enough ballast back there to lift that pretty easy. So we'll get started, and you can watch as we make our way merrily along through the snow. after a little bit of extra snow excavating here, we got the gate to slide or gate to swing open. Note to self for a project this summer is to put in a 9-foot gate post and get the gate moved up. So doing these jobs like this are always kind of fun because then you can find another job you can do later on just for a side hustle kind of. Anyway, we got the gate open and got the snow plowed away from the front of the feeder pretty good. It was, because it was a gate prior to this, they had walked it down and it was kind of icy, so it was tough digging there. We got that opened up and then we brought the feeder up. After we unstrapped the feeder from the wagon, then we had set the forklift forks in it to bring it over to the horse feeding area here. So we got that hitched back onto the loader tractor and lifted the horse feeder off the wagon, which was about as much as you want to lift with that tractor. We should have had it tipped back further in the forks as it turned out, so the balance, so the point of balance and the load would have been shifted back a little bit more. It's about all we want to lift with that without some weight on the back, some more ballast, which was provided by Kevin. Eventually we figured out a little bit of weight back there helped some. So here we got Remy going for a walk outside the pasture, which isn't a big deal. With the deep snow, he's easy to catch. We're going to bring the bale in, and the bale is a little bit more than that tractor. It'll lift it, but it isn't
balanced or ballasted, weighted. I guess weighted correctly is the right word. We'll get that a little bit better next year. All in all, it did go good. We got the bale set in there. It fit good. The height wasn't as big an issue as we thought. It fit well that way. And to this day now, a couple weeks later, Lindsay has put the second bale in there with the net just over it, and that works real well, putting a net over it, and it's not fastened down. It just works good to have it over the bale. This was a win-win.
So with a little bit of fooling around, or a lot of fooling around, we got the hay feeder put over here. We unloaded it, and it was about all that tractor would lift without having somebody on the back for a little extra ballast. And we got a round bale moved in, but what we're gonna do is get a 3-point mover for the tractor, and that will help considerably moving the round bale. So we got it moved in. The horses eat the hay. All is good. That's it for Garden Hands. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe and hit the like button. Thank you.